Welcome to Interesting Enough. He is Trey. I am Nolan. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you. We're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff. Trey, man, what's going on? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. You know what I'm saying? Nolan, we got a W this weekend. The Hurricanes got a W. I'm feeling great.
We did get a W. Week one, college football. Well, yeah, I guess it was week zero than week one. So week one of college football is started off great for us. So we'll get into the Miami and Florida. So talk a little bit of college football because our last episode was with Rob. We didn't have Rob on the podcast. He's a Florida fan. I did talk to Rob. I didn't mention Florida too much. I thought it was such a sore subject, so I let it go for now. But before we talk about the Miami Florida game, because we'll get into that, let's talk about the most recent game because we're recording this Tuesday night. So Monday night on Labor Day, and I hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. Florida State. Trey, you're a born and raised guy from Tallahassee, so you feel this community firsthand. Although you are not a Florida State fan, you are the guy to go to about this community. So Florida State obviously lost for those who didn't see it, the game. I think it was 28-13, lost to Boston College. Now they're 0-2. So Georgia Tech game they lost. Now they're 0-2. Looks like all the playoff hopes that they had is out the window. So I'm gonna throw it to you. What are you hearing? I know you got friends and family still in Tallahassee. Like, how are people feeling? And then you just giving your overall reaction to the game as well.
That's a great question. What I'm hearing is take it with a grain of salt, but people are kind of displeased. And to paint the picture, Mike Norvell, he took over a sinking ship in Florida State. His first year, they went 3-6. They only played 9 games because it was the COVID year, 2020. The next year, they lost in the last second Hail Mary play to Jacksonville State, and they still were not bowl eligible. And then the following year, they went 9-3, and then of course last year they went 13-0. Didn't make the playoffs, and then we know they got destroyed by Georgia. So long story short, I want to paint a picture that his tenure at Florida State has been on an upward trajectory, but it hasn't always been smooth. And you're kind of hearing rumblings right now where it's kind of like, I'm not going to say that they're taking it as far as putting him on a hot seat, but there's a lot of pressure on him because people just want to see if what he did those last 2 years, as far as going 9-3 or 10-3 when you consider the bowl game and they're going 13-0 last year, they want to see if that's really real. He has a new quarterback in DJU. I'm not going to try to say his last name. I would tear it up. But
yeah,
DJU.
yeah. DJ is fine. We all know it, and we all know we can't pronounce
Hey, yo, DJ, and the thing is, a lot of Florida State fans and the people I've been talking to, nobody knows a really good number, but supposedly DJ got paid a pretty substantial amount of money to go play out there, and he just hasn't looked good. And I would love to hear your perspective as somebody again that's not wasn't born and raised in the city, but people just really aren't happy with the coaching staff right now. And I won't say it's so much Coach Norvell, but it's the linebacker coach, it's the offensive line coach. When you get into the nitty gritty, it's no more positional coaches that people aren't really happy with because they're recruiting really hasn't been up to standard if you think about how well their regular season records have been the last 2 years. And then obviously what they're showing on the field today is just, it's not good. And as far as my own opinion on it, I'm just really surprised because, I really thought Coach Norvell was a pretty good coach. I knew he kind of struggled a little bit in recruiting, but I thought that was just indicative of the record that Florida State has had in the seasons past. But I thought once they turn it around, he's going to become a really good recruiter. And I thought he's a really good X's and O's coach. And they had a lot of hype coming into this season. The defensive line was supposed to be the strength. And last night they gave up 5 yards a carry. And last night the offensive line was supposed to be the other strength. Last night they ran for 21 yards. So like I'm just really confused with what's happening with Florida State. And it's so weird because Florida State, and Miami, they can never all be good at the same time. Like just never.
That's a good point actually too. I can't remember the last time all three. I mean, we're probably talking like 99, 2000, that range. So yeah, that's a good point. There's a couple of things I want to unpack with what you mentioned. I want to start with the Mike Norvell piece though, and I guess I'll ask this question first. We always joke around about the Willie Taggart era. Excuse me, the Willie Taggart era, who was the former head coach at Florida State. That the era didn't end well. What do you think were the expectations? And again, I'm asking you to go back, I guess, a couple years, but what were the fair expectations? Because how I remember it was Mike Norvell felt like a guy that was like relatively unknown as far as he wasn't a huge name on the market. Didn't always feel like that was like even Florida State's first choice as a coach. And then it kind of was like when he got them back to prominence and undefeated, even last year, it was like, hey, this guy maybe find a diamond in the rough as far as a coach, and he might be a guy that's here to stay. So I guess that's my first question because like I'm not really sure like what the actual expectations was, and because that helps me kind of like shape what I think of what he's doing now.
Um, I just want to say you hit it nail on the head. Like seriously, that was the expectation of him. He came from Memphis, so he was a G5 coach. A lot of people they kind of put him the derogatory name is G5 Mike when he wasn't doing that well at Florida State. So that was really the expectation. Like he was kind of like an unknown commodity. There was some like whispers that he was really good with X's and O's and getting through to the players. So like there was some hope there, but like nobody knew he was an unknown commodity, like you said. And then once he's had some success, it's like okay, maybe we really do have something here.
Okay, so I guess in saying that, I think he deserves a little bit of a break just because of what he's got the program. Because to be honest with you, I did think even last year, I thought he got the program. I thought he almost accelerated the process. I didn't. I thought he was a little bit ahead of schedule, if you will. For Florida State to go undefeated from where they were with the Willie Taggart era, I just wouldn't see it happening this soon. The second thing is I just feel like he lost some guys last year, and I do feel like that loss to Georgia is kind of reverberating. And like I know a lot of people were saying, well, hey, they didn't have any of their guys and XYZ. But if you lose 60-33 in a football game, it doesn't matter who was out there. Like that's not a good. That's just not a good impression. It doesn't matter if it's four stringers to walk-ons. Like you just can't lose that bad. And I feel like that took a little steam off the program heading into the offseason. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I thought that loss was a bigger deal even at the time. But I'm not gonna like say it was too much of a big deal in terms of right now, but maybe it's something to be said. Now, in terms of what's happening now in the field, let's just get straight to it. DJU wasn't Florida State's first choice at quarterback. Everyone knows it. He even knows it. They were trying to get Cam Ward. They were in the mix with Miami. Cam Ward decided to go to the NFL, then come back, choose Miami. So I think it put Florida State really behind the eight ball with even getting a quarterback because everybody, including Miami, put their eggs in one basket to get that guy. Miami would have been SOL if we didn't get Cam Ward either, and we would have been stuck having to scramble and get a guy last minute because putting all those resources in Cam Ward, Florida State didn't get the time to get the Will Howards and look for other guys. So I say all that to say we were just gonna. If you're a Florida State fan, you're just gonna be happy with what you got as competent quarterback play. He wasn't gonna be Jordan Travis, but it hasn't been very good. It hasn't been very good. DJ Uiagalelei is. I tried to pronounce it once. I tried.
I think you did good.
DJU.
You did better than me.
DJU's talented, but he's not the answer. And I think if you had a guy like Jordan Travis, he may mask some of the issues Florida State has. But like you said, he's not really the main issue. You got offensive line issues. You guys dropping the ball, and then the number one thing. Look, the one thing that Florida State was supposed to have is that defensive line. That's what they were supposed to have as far as rushing the passer. The running defense, I mean, my goodness, it was like NCAA football. Like it was, I mean, they just could not stop the run. They had little Kyler Murray out here for Boston College out there running around. Like it just they just couldn't get anything done. And then you go to the offense, then they're getting three and outs, and it just compounded. Now, in terms of their season going forward, they're not making the playoff. That's over because, and I'm not saying that because they're 0-2, Trey. I'm saying it because they probably still might lose at least another game at the end. And I'm not even talking about just to Miami. The ACC is
Oh, they got
decent
Notre
enough,
Dame as well. Yeah, I can't see them beating Miami or Notre Dame.
and I forgot they played Notre Dame too, so they could end up 3-4 losses before we could even blink. So, you know, do you think? And we'll put a ball on it this way. I mean, do you think Mike Norvell? Because I think he deserves at least another year to kind of get this going. I think it would be way too rash if they have a bad season, they just fire him. I mean, after the guy went undefeated, because I just don't know if it's really salvageable this year. Like, do you think he deserves another year to kind of get to right the ship? And I'm not. And again, it sounds bad even saying that because only 2 games in, but so it really depends how he finishes the year too. But yeah.
Yeah, like you say, it depends how he finishes the year. Like if they're not bowl eligible this year, then I can kind of see where some of the chatter might come from. But I think he's earned that. I think like based on the last 2 years and what he's done, like the upward trajectory that Florida State's been on, I think he's earned at least another season. But I do want to end it with this. I know Florida State is not in the SEC, it's not in the Big Ten, it's not in one of the Power Two conferences, to say the least. But Florida State really is like when you're in Tallahassee, it's the heart and soul of the city. It's really run like an SEC program. And what I mean by that is they live and die college football, and they will get rid of you in a heartbeat. And it's a lot closer to Alabama than it is. So I'm just going to say he better watch his back and he better turn this around really quick.
That's a great point. There's no other pro sports teams in Tallahassee, so it is all run that way. That is an excellent point. So, man, I hope he doesn't. But I'm gonna be real, Trey. I don't think last year's Florida State team was like undefeated good talent wise. I just
They
think they
got
played a
lucky
week.
breaks.
I thought they were a really good team. They probably were in my head. If I saw that roster, I thought they were like a 2-loss team, and I think they just really played well. They got momentum. So like, I think it's just sometimes we're kind of a victim of now the expectation is so high for Norvell, but you still can't start 0-2. The Georgia Tech game was something that it could happen. They lost by a field goal. It was halfway across the world for crying out loud. But you can't lose the home opener against Boston College, who's not a notable name. Boston College may end up very well being a good team this year, but you just can't lose it that way. So yeah, it's a tough way for Florida State, but we'll see how they turn around. We got a lot of year left. But speaking of a lot of year left or a long year, Florida, they got the brakes beat off of them by us in Miami. You and I have already talked about it off the pod, but we got to bring it to the people. I mean, I'm gonna just throw it to you. Go in any direction. I mean, we just talked about Cam Ward now going to Florida State. Well, Lord have mercy. Are we happy he came to Miami? So we got Cam Ward rolling. Like, how are you feeling? Because for us as Miami fans, we gotta always temper our expectations. So like, you reel us in here, like, so that way we don't go overboard. But it's hard not to when you win 41-17 and you beat Florida.
It's hard not to. And I think the biggest thing is you and I, we've talked about this for years, like literally years. The one piece that Miami has been missing for like the turn of the century has been the quarterback position. Like we just have not had really good quarterback play. Like we might have a year here and there with Brad Kaya, that year where TBD came in for injured De'Aaron King. Like we might have like spotty good quarterback play here and there, but it's never consistent. And this is the first time that I think you and I could look at this team and say, you know what? Every time we step on the field, I think that we have the best quarterback
Yeah,
out there, period. And I think like in college football, that makes such a massive difference. So I still think that this Miami team can accomplish a lot. I think they can win the ACC. Now, with that being said, yeah, we have to temper our expectations. Maybe Florida is not as good as what we thought they were. I thought Florida was a little bit better than what they showed on Saturday. And let me just say this: if they're not, Billy's not gonna last the whole season.
yeah. So I mean, let me get to the Miami piece first because I do want to talk a little bit about Florida. I don't know what the ceiling is for this Miami team because I don't want to get too excited about Cam Ward because, like you said, we got to take some of the good and some of the bad with Cam Ward, some of the nonchalant, lackadaisical stuff. I can see that. Let's just say I can see that coming into play at some point in the year and maybe come back to bite us. But what he gives you is so great, and just the word might not even be great. It's just so efficient, and it's just so like I don't know, easy, whatever you want to call it. Like he's just a competent quarterback. It's so crazy to say, but we just really haven't had that. So he just provides confidence for Miami, and we already got the guys at the skill position. So we feel good now going forward. Great one against Florida in the swamp. Great for recruiting, Trey. Great for recruiting. I mean, obviously we saw the videos. Great for recruiting. So, but Miami going forward, they're going to be competing against themselves in these expectations. As long as the Miami Hurricanes players don't feed into the Kool Aid of is Miami back? Because everybody on social media, everybody on the internet, all they want to do is be like, is Miami back? Is Miami back? Like that's like it's almost like a corny thing to say at this point. It's like a catchphrase, it's almost like heat culture, right? Like it's like people just want to say it now just to say it. As long as they don't sip the Kool Aid and Cristobal keeps them on that path of just locking in and focus and going game by game, which from everything we've heard, that's what all those guys are talking about. They're just focused on to the next week. And if they do that, they're gonna be in the conference championship game. I just don't see a scenario the way the schedule is, the way how talented this team is. They're going to be the most talented team on the field with every single team that they play against this year. Again, maybe Florida State is probably the only team that they play as far as the regular season. So if they stay focused, they stay locked in, they should be in the ACC championship game. And then we're not even going to talk about the college football playoff, Trey. You and I, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to jinx the Miami Hurricanes fans. Let's just get to the ACC championship game and let's just kind of go from there. But we don't want to go overreact too crazy because it is just week one. But on the Florida end, the schedule's the toughest in the country. I don't think Billy Napier should be fired at the end of the year. I mean, I don't know. The scenario for me would be Trey. I would say win wise, you got to find a way to get to 4 or 5 wins.
I
Like
say
if
4, and it's hard.
I know it's hard, but you because I mean, if he gets to 5 wins, you think he's fired?
This is Florida. This is the SEC school, so I'm gonna say yes. I don't think he deserves to be fired if he gets to 5 wins, but I think he has to be bowl. I think he has to be bowl eligible this year.
And that schedule is crazy. That schedule is insane. But man, that's tough. I mean, Miami right now is the best team in Florida. Like that's just what it is. They're the best team in Florida. So I mean, I'm going to keep an eye on Florida too because I think they have a chance to upset some of these teams. You and I both like the guy Lagway, the quarterback, the 5 star. So maybe they can play him and, like you said, give a longer leash to the fans. Right? That's the most important thing here. So we'll keep an eye on all those teams. But before we finish talking about the college football, week one, we got to talk a little bit about Colorado, Trey. Week one was interesting to me in that, or the first game I should say is interesting to me. What? Give me your thoughts on Colorado, how they looked. I know they squeaked out a win. Are you feeling any more confident than you were last year with that team? Less confident? The same?
I'm gonna be honest with you. They look kind of like the same team that we saw last year, to be quite honest. Nah, they did face a really good FCS team, and then we saw Oregon. Later on they struggled with another FCS team, Idaho. So it does happen, especially in week one. Where everybody's trying to work out their kinks and whatnot. But for the most part, they look like the same team. The offensive line looked really porous. The defense outside of Travis Hunter was giving up chunk plays. Uh, I don't think you can play Travis Hunter on both ends. He only missed 4 plays in the
Well, one,
Colorado
one of
game.
them it was just his helmet came off too. So I mean,
Okay.
he had to. Yeah. So really, like 3 plays.
Yeah, so like I don't think he like your best player might be Travis Hunter. If not, he's your second best player, and I just don't think that's sustainable. And then Shador, he's taking a lot of massive hits. Like he was taking massive hits against
It's
a
crazy.
FCS team. Like he's not going to last the season. Like I don't see it.
You really hit the nail on the head too. I mean, we should not be going into year two and we have the same issues with the offensive line. Like after week one, I'm just sorry, we can't. Now, you know how I feel about quarterback sacks. I think or about sacks. I think it's a quarterback stat. Shador Sanders, if you know your offensive line is not that good, you cannot be standing back there patting the ball and waiting for guys to get open. We got to get rid of the ball. The second thing, I had an issue, Trey. What people are not going to talk about is they could have lost that game. Shador throwing the ball with a minute 40 left. We got to be running the ball. What are we doing? What are we
No, take a
doing?
knee.
And then the question was asked, Trey, why he did that. And your response to be, I saw a cover zero. It was a one-on-one opportunity. Are we not playing or watching the same football game? What are we talking about? This isn't Madden. Like you have to run the ball and force a team to use timeouts. It doesn't matter if it's one. I don't care if they blitzed everybody. You still got to run the ball. Like this is how this game works. And then first of all, and if you're gonna do it, don't underthrow it so bad, Trey. I mean, damn. I mean, he didn't even get to do the chance. Like, I mean, he just underthrew it so bad. And then second, what are we doing at the end of the game here where guys are not knocking the ball down? The guy caught the Hail Mary. He just got tackled. I mean, it's just like, I mean, even when you win, you still felt it didn't even feel great. And then they couldn't even run the ball, anything like that. So it's just a lot of these same issues. They got the 4 wins last year. If they can get bowl eligible, that would be a tremendous season. But I don't see them doing much more than that. And again, this is Dion, year two of a program that wasn't very good and was at the bottom of the barrel in college football. So I want to be fair to the expectations. It's not like he should be winning 9 games right now. I just would help because of how much we hear about the program, and it may not all be Dion's fault, but you just wanted to see a little more. And I don't know what this program's going to do, Trey, after Shador and Travis Hunter leave, because is Coach Prime out too? Like, because that's really the main question.
I about to say don't leave Prime out of that. Shador, Travis, and Prime. I
So
think they all gonna leave at the same time. Matter of fact. I think, let's say they have a good year. Let me just call for tangent real quick. Let's say they
Okay,
win 7 games
that'd
and
be
they
a
have a
great year.
decent
They
year.
won 7 games. That'd be a great
Yeah,
year.
they'd be a great year. And they win games again next year. I think Dion, you might start hear some buzz about FSU if Mike cannot get it turned around at FSU.
Ooh. Now, you know what would be interesting, Trey? Florida State doesn't have a great year. They keep Norvell, but he's on the hot seat. Billy Napier gets fired. Now he has opportunities for Florida State or Florida.
Oh,
Where does he go? Because Florida State, if people don't know, Florida State is Dion's alma mater, but it's reported that he really wanted real consideration for the Florida State job a couple years back. They didn't give him that consideration. He was
oh,
very
that's
upset
real.
about that. Would he be that level of petty to go
Yes, he
to the?
would.
so he would. So he would. He'd be
This
that
is
level of
Dion we talk
petty.
about. Yes, he would. I didn't even think about that. You are so right, Nola. I could see that happening.
Just imagine how if doing that. He's like, I'm gonna go to Florida, your main rival, compete and probably get more of the recruits that you were gonna get, and then come into Tallahassee and a Doe Campbell and beat you. Like I'm living for that narrative as a college football fan. That is like that
Oh,
is
I want
next
that to
level
happen.
petty.
Like, I hate for somebody to lose their job, but if he is going to lose his job, I want that to happen.
Well, if you and I think Billy Napier, there's a really good chance he's gonna lose his job. I mean, he lost to that water bottle on the other day, right? I mean, like he's going like, look, he's probably on the way out anyway. So I'm not hoping the man get fired, but if we already think he's on the way out, I mean, Florida State got to make the call. We got to at least get an interview. Like, we got to at least get an interview. And then once Florida State even hears that Dion's taking an interview, I mean, at that point, even if Florida State is like, hey, we have Norvell, but like we're willing to let him go if you want to come in there. Does Dion even want to come to a situation where you're like throwing out a coach just to put him in there with that
I don't think
expectation?
so.
You know what I mean? That's another thing too. Besides just it being the alma stuff like that, you got to consider that stuff too. Because if you think expectations are big now for a coach at Florida State, Trey, it's gonna be even bigger when it's a guy like Dion in the alma mater. Like it's just gonna be a different level. So I think Dion always accepts every challenge, but that would be something that I mean, that would be a tough pill to swallow. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that goes. There, well, but look, we're gonna talk more college football as the season goes along. I want to thank everybody so much for joining us once again. We're gonna drop this content for you guys. I know there was a lot of people looking for specific college football content after we did the episode with Rob, so we're gonna try to keep this rolling. Like we're gonna do it once a week. We're gonna update you on the season. As like the big matchups, what we got going on. Of course, we're both Hurricanes fans, so we're gonna talk about the Hurricanes a lot. So keep up to date with us. We'll drop it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. And then on the way out, of course, I'll swing it to Trey.
Thank you guys so much for listening to us. We really do appreciate it. We're on all the major platforms, like Nolan said, so please check us out. Until next week, peace.